any kind of trigger that you just start to feel like big emotional response or overwhelm or just full exhaustion, like that is probably burnout. And it's really
Hmm.
important to seek advice and seek support because it doesn't just go away.
The Making Business Effortless podcast mission is to support successful entrepreneurs by sharing the stories of high performing service based business owners while sharing tips and helpful resources so you can buy back time and make more wealth in your business and in your life. Anna Lovell-Nesmith on with me today. We're going to be talking about something that, I mean, when I first started out as an entrepreneur, I started out basically as an independent contractor for another business. And I remember listening to the people that were really, really, really successful in their business. And one of them said she was making, in this particular industry, 65,000 was like huge. I mean, so woohoo. But but because it was a side hustle, and I'm like 65,000 as a side hustle. Wow. But she said the one thing that made her wake up her little brain real quick about this whole mindset about go for the money, go for the money, go for the money was the day that she ended up in the hospital and was thankful she was there because she didn't have to work. So, Anna is someone who talks about burnout, and that's somebody that realized they were burnt out. But do you think people don't realize it until it's like a little too late? Because it seemed
Yeah.
like to her it was like a surprise,
Yep. Yes, 100%. Actually, a lot of my clients have come to me after a situation just like that. They ended up in the hospital. They had no idea what was happening. The doctors couldn't find anything wrong after running all the tests. They thought they were having a heart attack or a panic attack or anxiety. And the tests showed that those weren't the case. And so then
Hmm.
they feel like, okay, I need to be like, I need a solution. And I don't even know what the problem is. And then they'll come to me and be like, you're kind of my last hope. And, but we,
Help me.
but because they'd seen the doctors and stuff before, I'm able to confidently navigate burnout with them and then help them have a recovery. And so I have 100% success rate. I always
Wow.
share that with people, but I don't say that from a boastful place. I say it with humility because I mean, if they wouldn't walk with me on the journey, then we wouldn't achieve the goal of them having just
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, I love that. That you're basically saying that 100% is not all on me; it's on them too.
100%. Yeah.
So we made 100% effectiveness here. 100% of the goal. So I think that with burnout, I think it's something that we all need to recognize, and I think that like I recently went on a workation. It was like the first time I ever went on a workation. My whole mindset was no, we'll go on vacation and we won't work, right? And I don't mean every vacation I'm going to go work, but this workcation was more of let's sit back and think about where we want to go with it versus okay, we're going to go somewhere quiet and insulate ourselves. This was more of a discovery of what I wanted from the business. Does that make sense? I mean, I think I've reached a point where I'm trying to search for moments of joy inside my business. Now, do you have people that come to you that's exactly what they're looking for, and how do you walk them through that? I call it the entrepreneurial flow for me. It's like you can weave in and out of life and business with, smoothly.
Yeah, and I do walk them through that. I mean, everything I do is so relevant to the person and their personality that the tools I share with them, the techniques that they use are almost intuitive to them. So it's something that they already have in their wheelhouse, but
Mhm.
they have forgotten that they have those strengths. And sometimes it's new concepts but tangible even though they're like abstract. And so it's the ability to really meet a person where they are. And you're right, when we focus so much on building our business, we're chasing either a monetary value or, podcast, a number of audience people. I mean, it just depends
Yeah,
on the person,
whatever that big
business.
thing in our mind it needs to be. Yeah.
And then we forget as a natural byproduct, we forget that our health matters, our joy matters, the impact we're making for others matter. I always talk about serving people first and money is like
Mhm.
secondary. And when we have that mindset, it keeps us in that space of clarity, I think, and also humility where we can really see, is this project I'm taking on, is this client, is this whatever intuitive and in alignment with what my true passion is, right? Because
Right.
At the end of the day, I really fully believe entrepreneurs, especially, we're here to do things in a way that is impactful for others, right? We are in a
Hmm.
place of service. And if we ever mix it up where money comes before people, then we find
Right.
ourselves struggling
Or you're
and
chasing the money and they can smell that.
yeah. Well, and
I
then we're
mean,
not
it gives off a weird, it gives off a vibe. You're just
happy.
chasing.
Mhm,
And I think some people don't realize they're chasing, and I don't think they're doing it on, we get upset on social media. Everybody gets, I can't believe that. But I also, when I see some of the people that can be annoying, I also see them, and many times I realize that they're fresh out of the box. I can tell when they're fresh out of the box, and they're just trying to throw spaghetti at the wall, or they're just doing what their coach is telling them to do, and it's feeling icky for them. So it comes across icky. I mean, that's what I've discovered, because I used to avoid the DMs like, the plague. I was like, oh, no. I don't want to be that person. And then I discovered a way to do it that matched my personality.
mhm.
And I think, you talking about personality types, that's so important, I think. So, with a personality type, what are you looking at somebody that's maybe perhaps that a personality, the person that is always go, go, go?
Mhm.
What kind of things do you tell those type of people? I think that I am an A-type personality, to be honest. And I feel guilt around not doing the do. I mean, it took me, I'm really still exercising that muscle to not work,
Mhm. Yeah.
So that type of person, you said you have certain things, and I know this is, hypothetical, and it's really hard because you're not sitting in the room with somebody. But can you give like a scenario, or maybe just like a client that you think about, don't have to use their name or any particulars?
Yeah. I mean, the type A personality, one of the most common threads that I really encourage them to do is practice the power of the pause, right?
Yes. Hmm.
Type A is respond, respond, go, 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 do this, got to get it done, deadlines, projects, all these things. But what happens is when burnout starts to creep in, everything becomes reactionary. And when
Hmm.
you are reacting, you're no longer responding. And half the time when we're reacting, if we would have just taken a moment to pause before we had whatever encounter that we did, whether it was an email, a text, a conversation, if we would have just taken a beat and taken a breath and practiced the power of the pause, then we seek clarity and we're able to respond accordingly, right? I think that sometimes people get so busy, they'll respond in a way that really isn't intuitive to who they truly are. And after that response, it's like, I could have handled that differently. I could have been more gentle.
Yeah, I think it's almost to social media, the ding, it's a psychological thing. They want you to be on social media. I mean, the algorithm, it basically is like a little crack whore for engagement.
Mhm.
So everything it does wants you to be reactionary,
Right. That's right. We've become
you know?
conditioned to that 100%.
Mhm.
Yes. Well, and that's the thing is when we are able to have that moment of pause, then we're able to recognize, is it really worth my time? Is this truly in alignment with something that's of value? And if so, how can I nurture this?
Yeah.
Or.
Yeah, that's like, when you get hit up in the DMs by somebody that's trying to sell their stuff and it doesn't align with the way you want to be sold to.
Yeah.
That energy is going to carry throughout the day. Just don't even respond. Don't
That's right.
let
That
them
is
let them go
right.
do business, That's it.
Uh-huh.
Just let them go. You're doing business. You don't want to do business with that. Let them keep going. I mean, that
That's right.
you don't engage with somebody on the streets that you don't want to talk to.
That's right. And that's what I always tell people too. Like oftentimes I have them practice the question, is this worth my energy and time?
Yeah.
Right. And again, that kind of goes hand in hand with the power of the pause. If they're constantly, if it's type A personality and they're feeling like they have to respond or they become conditioned to respond because of
Yeah.
Pavlov's idea of the ding, then for them to be empowered with the simple idea of practice the power of the pause and ask myself, is this worth my energy and time? If it is, how can I respond accordingly? If it's not, then I can gracefully let it go without any kind of negative energy.
So for me, I've come across this with, like one of my friends is a type A personality. She's like, I get up in the morning at this time, I do the X, Y, and Z, and then I'm gonna do, Z, Y, X, and but she will just stop in the middle of the day and sit in a chair and just do nothing, and will tell you, not right now.
I love that.
you
That's
know?
powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, and she will suddenly go, "I know how to do it now," and get right back up and carry on, you know? Um, and she just I think what it is we have this idea of the clock,
Mhm.
and she doesn't really work on a clock. She just says, "I've gotta get this done. I wanna get this done first, and then I'll do this, because this is how I have realized my day needs to go for me to accomplish my goals by the end of the day, and put my head down on the pillow and not be worried."
That's
But
right.
when you're somebody that's just, I mean, this is from an experienced entrepreneur of 30, 40 years, right? So when you're somebody who's just starting out, how do you embrace the pause? Because, those first few years of entrepreneurship in the business, I remember you're, oh gosh, what am I going to get? What is somebody going to buy? Blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
I mean, this is my second or third business that I've created. And I've done so many different things. But this is the one that I really love, and it's the passion that I have. And sometimes you just have to trip, stumble, fart your way into figuring out what it is that you want. But but when I noticed early on, I mean, like when I talked about the independent contractor job, I wasn't getting booked as an independent contractor. I spent months just doing all the things, everything, putting in all that time and
Mhm.
effort. And then I started getting the bookings, and it's like, okay, now I've got income. I can relax. I'm not doing that. Forget that. That's not. So how do you get to that? I mean, it's almost like a journey to get to that kind of mindset, to be able to just walk away from something.
Yeah. I mean, it's
What you say to the beginner who's like, well, but I need money, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah. So if for the monetary conversation piece, I encourage people to go to like low hanging fruit. Just because we live in a world
Right.
where social media seems to be like where the impact is being made, it's not always true. In fact, you can
Hmm.
have a larger impact in your own community. So then
Exactly.
what are you doing? How are you and how can you network and reach out and what impact can you make in your own backyard? Right?
Hmm.
And so it's offering that a lot of times the new entrepreneurs get tunnel vision. Like, I have
Yeah.
to hire this coach. I have to take these, modules and
I got to learn
implement
how to do a funnel. I got to create a
them.
course. I got to have a website. And those are just actually, all those steps are, yes, what you need for a business, but they don't all happen at once.
That's right. Well, and what I always tell people is that when I first started, I had a website,
Hmm.
and that website for years generated zero. Zero traffic, zero clients, zero anything besides every year I would pay for the annual
Yeah.
fee. And then I came in, yeah, I had this realization all of a sudden.
Yay. I'm spending money on a thing that I'm not using.
That's right, that's right. And then, but all the hype was you have to have a
A
website. I
website.
mean,
Yeah.
even still, people claim this, right?
Well,
So
remember when everybody first started really pushing the website thing, it was every business hopped on the bandwagon of the website. Nobody really had any idea how to really do it well.
yeah.
So that's still echoing.
Right. But here's the funny thing. As soon as I had this moment where I was like, I'm done. I'm done. This is just sucking money. It's not having any return. I shut it down and I didn't re-up.
Hmm.
And so this was years ago. And as soon as I did that, I don't know if it was like a mental block, an emotional block, an energetic block, but as soon as I shut that thing down and said, I'm done with this, it doesn't serve me, it doesn't reach the people I'm trying to help,
Hmm.
I got business. I
Yeah.
so why I'm
It's like
speaking to that is
unplugging the clog when you do stuff like that. Yeah.
exactly. But why I share that is because to your point about, new entrepreneurs who are trying to chase all the things, oftentimes I share with them the idea of, well, is this true? Do you
Hmm.
have to have a website in order to be successful? I
No.
would say no. I'm living proof of that. I still get tons of,
Me too.
I'm
You just told
right.
my story. I did the same thing. It's
Yeah,
like, why do I have this?
that's right. And it's liberating too because you and I are examples for the young entrepreneur. Like, just because it looks like these things need to be in order to have a successful business, it doesn't always mean it's true. And you can
Right.
be successful without 100,000 followers. You can be
Yeah.
successful
Yes, you can.
without,
Yes,
you
you
know.
can. Well, I mean, I think we're it's the social media. You get your new, you want, and you see so much information. And I think that I love the online space. I adore it. It's where I've made money, is where I've been, I love it. I think it's great. I like the flexibility. Like I said, I got to go on a workcation. Woohoo! But I'm also okay. My background's in curriculum instruction as well. I was a teacher. Not only did I do marketing and sales in the corporate and radio, all of that, and here online, I also studied curriculum instruction, specifically why the hell do people want to learn something. But the thing is that you have to remember all of those things that they talk about: reach 50K months, reach 10K months, start a website. All those things are like benchmarks in a journey, just like they do in a school. That the first year of school, first grade, needs to learn these things.
Yeah.
And 50K is not year one.
Right.
But they
Right.
don't say that. They
Right.
don't tell you that. But at the same time, we have to realize that online social media marketing and all that is still kind of in its baby stages,
Mhm.
hasn't quite reached the whole television level of commercialism, basically, because when you see a TV commercial, you know exactly who it's for.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and the online space is still trying to figure out how to navigate that, especially on social media, because you have to take something that you do naturally in person
Mm.
online.
Yeah.
And I love that you said that, because there's other ways to do it. So working locally
Mhm.
can really bring in that ability to talk to people online.
Well, 100%. And also having that validation that you are able to truly impact the person or business that you're trying to help. When you receive that validation, it strengthens the belief in
Mhm.
yourself that you're able to do whatever vocation you feel called to do. You're making the impact you want. And then, the money will come. It always does. It's just a matter of, are you still doing what you truly feel passionate about? Because if all of a sudden you start this business as an entrepreneur to make wonderful t-shirts for people, or
Mhm.
to make, a difference in their life emotionally, physically, mentally, if you are making that impact, then that's beautiful and reciprocal.
Mhm.
But if all of a sudden you shift your focus from the impact you're trying to make as an entrepreneur to how much money you reach. I mean, I follow this guy who I've followed for years, and he took off and he's a multimillionaire now. And I saw him when he first started, and I'm telling you, this man has millions, I'm not exaggerating, millions of dollars, but he's not happy.
Yeah, I've
His
seen that.
life isn't fulfilled. So what matters, right? Are we going to make our intention with our business one that matters and one that feels good? I mean, like you said, this is your
Or is it
favorite
just
business.
a day-to-day job where you get a paycheck? I mean, you left being corporate or whatever, the 9 to 5 job, for a reason. Why are you turning your business into that?
That's right. That's
You
right.
know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I, I think what's interesting is that we have a lot of, that I try to let my clients know, you're out there doing the do. Remember, all of those shiny objects out there, the reason why they're shiny objects is because they are just that. You're going to have a lot of noise. And the reason why you hired me is because you need somebody to sift through the noise to find out which one of those things you want. So, but they still want to, got to find more information. And it all comes off of that, what you're talking about, the inability to step back and take a pause.
That's
I
right.
think that, or maybe it's not the inability, but more the recognition of when to. Don't
Yes.
you think?
Yeah. Yeah, because we are going to hustle and flow sometimes, right? I mean, that's the
Right.
way it works. But then when we find ourselves starting to reach that point of you can't even sleep at night because all you're doing is thinking about the next move you need to make or everything that you got to do, those are the little signs that are like, okay, burnout could be approaching.
Hmm.
You're starting to exhaust yourself literally, and you're no longer resting, whether it's, I mean, I think it's phenomenal that your friend takes that time during the day just to stop and just take a breath. I think that's so powerful.
Yeah, I mean, and then she'll go back to doing whatever she had to do next, and realize, and usually what she does at the end of the day, some of the mundane stuff that doesn't require a lot of thought.
Yeah.
you know and so she'll be sitting there thinking about that, and she'll have clients coming. This is the end of the day of just doing the do, and she'll have clients coming she likes to serve them at the end of her day, because then that way, for her, I think, and I feel the same way too when I work with clients, you're in a flow when you're somebody that knows, and it's more coming from a space of asking them and guiding them to help them find the answer. Whereas when you're in your own space and trying to run your own business, you do need that inspiration. You do need more focus. So you can't be reactionary when you step in with a client.
That's right. That's right. Because otherwise, we're not serving them like we're meant to.
Right. Right. I mean, you get a little bit flustered with them because you're flustered with yourself.
Mhm.
Many times because I mean, I've fallen into it with some clients, and it also attracts some of your nightmare clients too.
Uh-huh. Right. But it's also validation of why we should be so intentional with who our ideal client is and why it's important that we work with that personality or that industry or whatever it is that you're
Hmm.
basing that on. Because I have also had nightmare clients where I'm like, I knew this
Dear God,
person
what have I
was,
gotten myself into?
yeah, you're like, I knew this person wasn't my person, but I took them because I felt bad that they were having burnout, but they weren't my person.
I know that's what I hear and I've done it too. You come across somebody, you're like, I know I can help them. Yeah, but
Right.
you don't need to convince them of that.
Right. And how many times, right, that when you're not with the ideal client, they won't take your advice. They
Yeah,
don't
no, they won't.
implement. So then they don't.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's like pay attention to it's a lot of it is, are they willing to answer your questions and really sincerely think about the answers they're giving you? Are they
Right.
sincerely there for help? And that's in any niche,
Right.
whether you're going to a psychologist, whether you're going to a business consultant, whether you're going to somebody helping you with yoga, you
That's right.
have to you have to be available to them so they can help you. And then you come across these clients, they're like, just show me the price. You're just, really? You just want to spend money. Okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I am not catering to that.
That's right.
No, because
That's
that
right.
hurts my business to take on people
Mhm.
that, okay, well, you just spend money and I'll just take it, whatever. No,
Yeah.
no,
Yes. Yeah.
that's not what I'm here for.
That's right. That's right. And that
You know.
exchange feels yucky, right? I mean, that's the whole
Hmm.
point. Is it goes back to what you were saying in the beginning is like the yucky feeling behind things sometimes. We have to pay attention to that as well because it's
Yeah.
telling us something, right?
I tell my clients to, when every time you go through a buyer's experience, when you're the buyer,
Mhm.
think about the experience. What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? What would you do in your business that would make that experience better?
Right. Right.
And what would you put in place to make that happen? And many times what it is, for me anyway, I got to talk to a human being
Mhm.
and
Yep.
got my answers, and they helped me and took time and didn't go, here, let me shift you to another number, or
Right.
walk right out and here, well, no, no, look here, you need to buy this. If you don't buy this, the world's going to explode. FOMO marketing,
Oh,
all,
yeah.
fear-based marketing, that stuff.
Uh-huh.
I think that all that noise too, when you are a buyer, if you can sit back and think to yourself, how does that make me feel?
Mhm.
And if it makes you feel the least bit off, then think about how you would word it better, how you would do it better, whatever it is about that person said, what would you do better? And don't get on there and attack them,
Right. Right.
because that makes you look. I had somebody attack me the other day on social media, and I was just like, well, if you think she said, you're shallow as fuck. And I said, well, if you think I am, you don't have to respond.
That's right.
Everybody else is having fun. Why are you here?
Yeah.
You don't like this party, there's another one down the road. I mean,
Literally. Literally. Oh my gosh. Well, and the people who like attack like that, I mean, it's
well,
hard
they're
to
in it. I
say.
know what it is. There's a space of frustration, and they're projecting onto you.
Yeah.
In most instances, there's something that's triggering them about the market, and they don't like it, and they don't know how to fix it because they're not accepting help for themselves. They're
Right.
too looking at what everybody else is doing, and that's something that's going to happen. But it's until you recognize that everybody else is not your problem and your business is your problem,
Mhm.
nothing's going to shift for you in your mindset.
Right. Right. Because the common denominator there is that one person.
You.
Right? Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
that can cause burnout too,
Mhm.
chasing everyone else's, and trying to attack and just that negative energy. I mean,
I
every
know I feel it in my neck.
the stress.
Yeah, yeah, it'll come up in my neck, and then that's when I realize I need to stop, do
Mhm.
some neck exercise, somatic yoga, meditate, maybe go for a walk. I just let my body tell me. And it's
Yeah.
so funny when you take a step back and pause like that, because your body will go, you know, maybe we don't answer that person, or maybe we do answer that person this way. But if it's a definite kind of like, say, hey, really step back, push, your body will tell you, go for a walk, go outside, go play with the dog, go kiss your husband, go just take a
Yeah.
breath. You know,
Yeah.
it'll tell you what you need if you just stop.
Yeah. Well, and if a person's in the habit of practicing the power of the pause, then when they get a nasty comment like that, right, then they have that
Mhm.
moment of, is this worth my time to even respond? And the answer is going to be no. I mean, there would
Right.
be
Because I
nothing.
look at it and I'm like, well, first she baited me.
Mhm.
Second, now she's just wanting to attack somebody for this.
Mhm.
And it sounds like a her problem.
Oh,
You know,
100%.
and that sounds so snotty, but I'm not being
Yeah.
snotty. I can't, you can't get emotional over people because that's what they want, eh?
Mhm.
But at the same time, I know in radio, when I worked in radio, people would call and complain like that. You know, tweet. I feel like radio is like the godfather of social media, because everybody used to be on radio and call up the air personalities and complain to them and be trolls there.
Uh-huh.
You know, so we always handled them with this kind of mindset of thanks for listening.
Mhm.
And thanks for your feedback. Have a great day. You know, just like, thank you for
Yeah,
listening. We know you're listening. That's all we care about.
that's right.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. Like, thanks for your crappy comment, but you're still one of my followers, so my numbers are good.
It'll reach somebody who really likes me and
Yeah.
doesn't think I'm shallow as fuck.
And people, they watch for how we respond to things like that.
Hmm.
And so I'm sure you responded, in a way that was beautiful, or maybe no response at all. But
Well,
either
I
way,
did. I responded to her a couple of times, but yeah, but once I realized that she's just not gonna, I wasn't in the mood to appease her.
mhm,
But the first one was, well, if you think I'm shallow as fuck, you don't have to respond to me.
yeah.
Thanks so much for commenting on this post. It helps this group and me grow. And then she kept on, and she acted like she's being sincere. And I said something back to her about, well, okay, so you think it's creepy for me to acknowledge somebody, be nice, and then ask them their story? That's
Mhm,
creepy.
mhm.
Okay, well, if you don't like that, there's other groups.
Yeah. Yes.
And then she just kept on. Then I just reported her.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can't, you notice I don't get really upset about it. It's just interesting to me because I see it and I try to empathize, but at some point you cannot empathize with people that just want to. I've had them comment on my post, just, they'll say something and I know what they're doing. I'm like, oh, okay, well, why do you say that? And they're just like, out of principle.
Mm.
I'm like, okay, well, you have a good day.
Yeah.
Continue spreading negative joy, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Spread
Oh.
your darkness. Have fun on the social media. Letting people know how smart you are.
Well, and that's just it. People who see, I mean, everyone has intelligence. And so anyone seeing those yucky comments or that yucky interaction, I mean,
I
they're
love that you say that. I mean, your clients aren't stupid. Your
no, no,
audience is
no.
not stupid. They know the game. I mean, how long has social media been around? And the way that so many people on it, people know. They know when there's a troll before the troll even comes into fantasy.
It's so obvious. You're very right. So
So, I mean, that all those things lead to burnout, and so if you could give somebody like one thing they could do today to recognize whether or not they're in burnout, or, if you have something you'd like for me to include in the show notes, we can, but we definitely have your contact information in the show notes. But what's something that they can do that helps them realize this is burnout and not just, push it through kind of thing?
yeah, I think that in theme with what we've been talking about today, the easiest thing for any person, regardless of personality or what industry they're in, the power of the pause is going to be that indicator. We get so busy, whether it's with, I mean, a lot of us try to balance like 15 different hats every day. And so we're busy hopping from one thing to the next, whether it's our kids or, our business or, another job, or, I mean, just you name it, right? So if we can just take a moment and be mindful. I mean, some people work better with a timer. So I'd say if it's hard to slow down or take a second, put a timer on for 30 seconds. And in that 30 seconds, practice the power of the pause. Check in with yourself. How are you feeling physically? How are you feeling mentally? How are you feeling emotionally? If anything feels tender or exhausted or overwhelmed or even just unsettled, ask yourself, what is this? What is this about? Is there
Mhm.
something that's obvious that I can say, okay, the stress is in my neck because I had that crappy comment from that troll on my post? or or has the day been pretty harmonious and I feel off still? And if you feel off, then ask yourself, what is it? And if you can't really pinpoint, that's probably burnout. I mean, if
Mhm.
there's an obvious thing happening, usually there can be reasoning behind it, right? Well, I just had this thing happen. That's why I'm not feeling 100%. Or I'm just coming off of this cold or something. That's why, right? But if you don't
Right.
have an answer, if you can't come up with a very obvious reason why you might not be feeling 100%, then that's probably a sign that burnout is happening. Now, if you take that 30 seconds and in that 30 seconds, you are instantly overwhelmed, like it's
Oh,
almost like
yeah.
you were trying to
Yeah.
keep it out. And then as soon as you slow down and take that 30 seconds and you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted, I'm overwhelmed, my life is too chaotic for me, I don't even know which way is up right now.
Yeah,
Boom,
like that really
that's burnout.
heavy, like, yeah.
Yes. And that is burnout. And if you're in that state, or even if you're approaching burnout, I mean, I don't, if you want to add this, you can, or you can cut this out, but I do, I do, like a complimentary call. And in that call, I don't try to sell anybody. I just say, tell me what's happening. Here's try this technique or tool. And that's all that is. It's because burnout is so dangerous that the very, very furthest state of burnout that goes
Mhm.
unsupported, it's awful to say, but it is true, is a lot of times it's self-harm. Whether
Mm.
someone's trying to self-medicate or they self-harm or they don't even
Mhm.
survive it, literally don't survive it because they feel like there's a lot of shame that people find themselves associating with burnout. And so it's
Mhm.
a huge emotional roller coaster. And so that's why I offer that complimentary call, like, let's talk this out. Let me help you at least a little bit right here and see how this serves you, because at the end of the day, burnout is something that we will all go through.
Mhm.
Many of us will go through it multiple times in our lives for different reasons, right? Because there's no
Mhm.
one trigger that ignites
Well, it
burnout.
can just simply be a parent is sick. I
Yeah.
mean, or your child needs you and you're going through a big thing with your kid,
Mhm.
or your spouse. I mean, it doesn't have to be business or work or whatever.
That's
It
right.
can be a situation you have no control over that can burn you out.
Literally, literally.
Yeah.
And one of the indicators too is if you all of a sudden find yourself like driving the same path to work and all of a sudden you feel like just furious about the same path, about the same thing every day, Groundhog's Day, any kind of trigger that you just start to feel like big emotional response or overwhelm or just full exhaustion, like that is probably burnout. And it's really
Mhm.
important to seek advice and seek support because it doesn't just go away. A lot of people think they can self help themselves through burnout,
Mm-mm.
but they can't because it's not a 1 + 1 = 2 type of journey,
No.
right?
No. No. No, it's not. And I know that my mentor, she does a lot of the, like, she does the pause, which I think that's amazing because it's so simple,
Mhm.
but the hardest thing is to pause.
Yeah.
And that's why you said 30 seconds, because it's like, just pause for 30 seconds. And what happens in that first 30 seconds is if you are burnt out, your whole body will do that drag you to the seat thing. And you'll realize, I just need to sit here for a second.
Yeah.
And then you're sitting there for 10 minutes,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I've sat for 10 minutes on purpose and I'm like, got to grab the phone. No, put the phone back. I just,
Yeah. That's right.
and I'm not, and I wasn't really burnt out. I was just like, let's just see what happens. And I was sitting out there with my horses, and just watching them. And then in that 10 minutes, I found myself just finally settling into it, staring at the dirt. But what I was really staring at was just how fascinating it was that my horse could eat food up off the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds so simple, but it was just like I was mesmerized by that. It was just my brain got a chance just to zone out on something. And then when I came out of it, I was like, okay, so what are we doing now? And
Right.
that's before hitting burnout,
Right.
So the power of the pause is incredible.
It really is.
And your information is in the show notes. So if you want to connect with Anna Lovell and get in on that free strategy call, I definitely, do it. Even before you're doing any kind of self-harm, we don't want to get to that point
No,
at
no,
all. And I think it's something that needs to be recognized in the entrepreneurial online space, especially because you are at home alone trying to run a business.
that's right.
And that's stressful enough.
That's right.
So thank you so much, Anna, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It was lovely. Thank you so much, Leah.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to join the Effortlessly Booked community on Facebook for more free resources and support. Simply check out the show notes. Please share this podcast with other online service providers in your circle. And by all means, leave a comment and let me know your biggest takeaway, along with other topics you would like me to cover so you can continue to make business effortless.